We're not now just a participant, we're part of the decision makers. And that people can see that Africa has something to offer in all of these global decision making. A lot of what is happening between China and different African markets is exactly what I've just been outlining now. So China has been a very, very big friend and a big partner of the continent. Clearly, we trade with everybody. We trade with Europe, with the US, with China. But with China in particular, China has been very active in infrastructure, and that we hope will continue.
Firstly, let me say it's the first in Africa, yes, but it's the third in the global south because we had India and then we had Brazil and then South Africa. So it's been quite a good handover from the global south countries. And what it does collectively for global south, but for South Africa and Africa, is to start to place us as part of the global architecture to make decisions in the world rather than to receive decisions. If you think about the big decisions that affect the globe, whether it's climate change or it's debt and things like that, we're not now just a participant, we're part of the decision-making process. And that people can see that Africa has something to offer in all of these global decision-making. It's my sense that, and I think people here generally agree, that there's a lot of change in the world. And so in the new post the US primacy world, nobody quite knows how global governance will work, but we are positioning ourselves, especially through the G20 processes, as you mentioned, to be amongst those who are making global decisions. Well, I think there's a lot of challenges that the world faces, but those challenges manifest differently for different countries. So by having 3 African entities within the structure, it means that we can now far more, impactfully put Africa's case across. So if, let me just think of a practical example, let's assume in a climate change scenario, for example, the global north was more worried about wind or hurricanes or fires. We can put floods and we can put heat because that's how it works to us and how it affects communities. So I think having all of those countries in an African Union that you place, we can give an African flavor to everything that needs to be discussed. I, for example, think that the African continental free trade area is a very important thing for the African continent to get right, but it can be something that we put for the whole world to assist and to cooperate. So what all that does essentially, I think, in the final analysis is to place an African slant forcefully forward to the global community. So the B20 is a strong advocate for the AfCFTA, Free Continental Trade Area. And what is the thrust of our work is we want to be sure that nobody's left behind. And so there is in some of the task forces a huge push to involve the SMEs, for instance, because Africa as a continent has more small and medium-sized companies than it's got large multinationals. So to bring SMEs into the trading patterns within the African continent, we think will be a very, very important thing to get the inter-regional field right. There's work being done on that. There's work being done on harmonization so that you don't have this border-to-border issue. If you fill out a set of papers, for example, you want to register your medicine, you do it once and it is applicable across the markets of Africa that have signed up to the free trade area. So that is one part of it. So there's a set of recommendations to implement the CFTA. What is true is that I don't think you could walk around the African continent today and find anybody who doesn't agree that there should be a free trade area within the continent. Instead of having 53 distinct markets, you have a market of 1.5 billion people. It's how to do that, right? Without destroying jobs in countries, without making some countries winners and others losers. Make sure that it's a win-win. In fact, to borrow a Chinese phrase, there's a shared prosperity. The B20 has done quite a lot of work. As I say, I've given 2 examples of the kind of things that are going to be put forward to the heads of state to implement. Of course, we also must not forget the women. They are very often heads by micro enterprises, and we want to make sure that there's a gender lens as well to how we move forward on the free trade area. A lot of what is happening between China and different African markets is exactly what I've just been outlining now. So we're moving beyond just selling cobalt and selling copper to China to saying, well, in the battery making process, could we use Chinese technology, for example, to make some of the processing happen close to the source? It's not there yet. It's still a discussion going on, but China has a pivotal position to assist Africa in this regard, and we have not seen any reluctance on China's part to get involved in these kinds of conversations. China has been a very big friend and a big partner of the continent. Clearly, we trade with everybody. We trade with Europe, with the US, with China. But with China in particular, China has been very active in infrastructure, and that we hope will continue. If they're doing infrastructure that brings, there's a lot of jobs that we're creating into the process. But just think about South Africa. We are suddenly seeing a lot more electric vehicles from here that are now being sold on the market, and in fact, China is gaining market share. So the next phase will be paid BYD. You assemble some of this in country. It's maybe not very efficient for BYD for the time being, but that's a natural evolution to say we would like some of that technology to be in-sourced into the country. South Africa already has a very active automotive sector. Yeah, it's still the combustion, the old combustion engines. So there's a way you can structure the relationship so that there is now a collaboration on EVs. There's so much that can be done between China and Africa in different areas. And I think it dovetails very well with where the Chinese economy is today. Not only are you focusing on quality, but also focusing on high tech. So it would be a very good partner for Africa.